we have our next guest of the day with us.
Yay.
We have Mr. Jerry Scott from Confidential Record Specialist. Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So we're having a little technical difficulty. Okay, there he is.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so Jerry, tell us a little bit about Confidential Records.
Confidential Record Specialists, we do shredding of documents, we do record storage, we do imaging services, anything related to business management of records. Actually, we destroy such things as contraband, just about anything you can think of.
So so you have a truck coming by my house today, right away.
It's already been there.
So anyway,
is that why you were running a little late getting here today, hauling that contraband out of Barry's house?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Then I sold it.
Oh yeah. His own version of equity key.
Right. Yeah. After I shredded it.
Yeah. So how long have you been in the shredding business, shredding and document management?
A little over 30 years.
30 years. Wow. Well, I remember I met Jerry, it had to be 7 or 8 years ago. I'm not sure exactly when, but one of my clients up in Montebello, Store Retrieve, which was a document management company that Jerry was, brought some of his stuff to. So you've been doing this a long time. Tell us a little bit more about the document management side, because I don't think people understand a lot of that.
Well, document management is an interesting business. With all the abilities of people coming in and stealing your records, it's got to be stored at a very secure place. There's got to be 24-hour security. They've got to have very good online systems so that people can't get into the records.
So I can't take all my boxes out of the garage and go stick them in a self-storage unit anymore.
You could if you wanted to, but there's problems with that. Number one is you've got to go down every time you want to go there. You got to fight the spiders, and if it rains, they get wet. And also, all you have is a lock on it. With a record storage company, we have the ability to to store your records, to barcode them. They're in a climate controlled area. People are there 24/7. You can get your records electronically. We can do imaging services for you. We can shred them. So it's a whole different kind of a ball game. Also, as far as the financial part of it goes, it's actually cheaper to store at a record storage facility than it is at a
self-storage.
At a self-storage.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, we store by the cubic foot, basically, where they store just by the size of whatever one of those cubes you buy. So if you've got a 10 by 10 and you're paying $150 a month or something for it, or $100, whatever it is, then that's what you pay every month, and you really don't have any service. But if you store with somebody like us, there's a minimum of like $35 a month to store it, and you get a certain amount of records for it, or boxes, and it can run anywhere from 35 cents a box to down to 20 cents or 15 cents, depending on what your volume is.
Right.
So it's a lot cheaper. Now,
years and years ago, I used to work at Xerox Corporation, and we were told years ago back in the 90s, we're going to become a paperless society before too long.
I don't know about that.
I don't think we're ever going to really...
1995, Al Gore. I remember this speech well.
Yeah, you need to come to my place and see how paperless we are, and I've tried.
I didn't believe it then, and I don't believe it now.
Most people like to be able to touch it, especially lawyers. They love to have the paper in front of them. And, electronic is great, except that you see all these break-ins on the electronics, from credit card numbers to different stuff. And, you've got to really be careful nowadays with whatever you store or you destroy. You got to make sure the person that's destroying it for you is storing it properly, and you've got to make sure the people that are storing it properly. I get calls all the time from companies that are either unhappy about the service or the security or the price, which if you don't read the small print, in the record storage business, you've got fees to take your records out. which is called perm-out fees, but actually they're hostage fees.
It's like, we got your documents now, sucker. Try coming to get them.
Exactly. And like with us, we don't raise prices all the time for unless we speak to the accounts. And in the contracts, it just says, that we won't raise your price like for 2 or 3 years, whatever it is, and we don't raise the perm-out fee or the hostage fee, where other companies can do that. So it's just, there's a lot of ins and outs of this business where you can't legally in this industry, you can't charge for destruction and for perm-out together. All right, it's one or the other. But some companies are trying to get both, which, that's why you've got to be careful who you use. Right. You've really got to be educated on it.
Yeah, interesting. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business here on KCBQ, streaming live on the web at am1170theanswer.com. Give us a tweet at CloseUpSD. Email me at barry@closeupsandiego.com, or find our page on Facebook. We want to hear from you. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with my co-host, Andrea Kay, and we have Urban Miaris, and our guest is Mr. Jerry Scott from Confidential Record Specialists. So, let's talk about, another reason why people want to use your service. We think about some of these security breaches out there of information, and I know, when I look at all the documents that I have to store or destroy, I've got all kinds of personal information on clients. So, how do you deal with all the security issues?
Well, you have to be careful with what you got. It's mostly who's running the company,
right?
And what you deem security. Our facilities are 24-hour, as I said, security, and also all of our people are bonded. We're very careful what we pick up. We do chain of custody on everything. We just did a project last week for 80 tons of paper for destruction. It's a lot of paper, yeah. What we did, the reason we got the contract probably was because of what we proposed to them. We had it wasn't witnessed, so it came back to our facility. It was plant-based, and what we did was we told them we would give them a chain of custody with a certificate of destruction, which goes from when our trucks are loaded from their warehouse, transported to our place, taken off the trucks, and shredded. We supplied them with pictures, we supplied them with times. The whole ball of wax. So they knew that their records were taken care of.
How often are you? How often are you ever subpoenaed or asked to, provide information because your services have been involved in any, legal situations? And I'm sure that you've protected that kind of conscious, safeguarding. It certainly has been a valuable, commodity for your clients at times, and has been helpful to them that you've been. I'm assuming that you've been asked to provide that supporting documentation for your clients, maybe even in court.
Well, you know what? I honestly, in the last 30 years, I've never had to go to court or subpoenaed for it, because what we do is we supply everything they're going to need, so that it shows what the chain of custody was. They have a certificate of destruction. We actually give them samples of what was shredded, so they'll get a bag of shred.
So there's nothing else they need really then. If somebody's questioning what's happened with the documents, or like the IRS or whatever, they can say, here, look what I've got from CRS. Here's what I've done.
Absolutely, yeah. And we can even video some of it if they want. We've done everything from contraband of old radios, when they made the little transistor things, to, we've dealt with customs, we've dealt with, just about every federal organization that wants to destroy something. They bring it in, or we've picked it up. In this business, you have to be security conscious, and you also have to know that service is involved, and also cost. And you've got to put that whole thing together, and that's basically your business plan. You know, you can't just say, I'm going to do it, you know.
Yeah, most people think that, just dumping your records in storage and just keeping them out there, they don't stop to think how important it is to have the integrity of those boxes. I remember talking to one of the other guys at Store Retrieve some years ago about taking this to court, and the court looks at that chain of custody. That's the most critical thing, so documents don't get altered, before they get to court and what have you. So you work on all that, don't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you've got to, you're selling your client a service, and it's the due diligence is what they want. Especially attorneys, medical. I mean, HIPAA is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you've got to be so tight with what you're doing. And, you've got companies that will come in there and just take it, and you don't get really the type of written confirmation that they're supposed to.
Right.
I mean, I remember when I first started, I was dealing, I don't want to name names, but I was dealing with a specific county, okay?
You can tell us.
I can't do that.
Yeah, it reminds me of that expression in business, in writing, you got a prayer. Without it, you got air.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have a question. What about things that are trade secrets and all? Do you have the capacity to store that information?
Sure. Yeah, we can store anything. I mean, we could do asset management too, where we could store paintings, whatever. Asset management is a big business too.
That's great. Hey, we're starting to run short on time. Tell our listeners how they find out more about confidential record specialists.
Can I give them my phone number?
You can give them the phone number, the email address. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
I'll take phone and email. Let me give a phone number.
Okay.
Phone number is 310-418-9297.
Okay.
And the email is J, like the letter J, Scott, SCOTT, CRS, for confidential record specialist, at AOL.com.
Okay, so J Scott CRS at AOL.com.
That's correct.
Perfect. Well, we are out of time. I appreciate you being with us, and let's keep the story running. So I'll be in touch and see what we can do.
It's my pleasure, Barry.
Great.
Thank you all for having me.
Great.
Thanks for being here.
Yep. This is Close Up on San Diego Business here on KCBQ, streaming live at AM 1170, theanswer.com. Send us a tweet at CloseUpSD, or just find us on Facebook. You can always email me at Barry@CloseUpSanDiego.com. Let me know what you think. I'm your host, Barry Waxler. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.